Good afternoon, friends. Good to see you here. This is the Comp Queen Show with me, Cassie. Um, we had a bit of a reschedule this week, so I'm hoping to see many of your friendly faces on today's live. We had a memorial to attend yesterday of a good friend of ours, so we rescheduled this for today. So I hope to see a lot of you here. Hope everybody got the memo as far as when this was rescheduled for today. I know a couple people were like, I missed it. And I'm like, no, you didn't miss it. We just had to reschedule for Thursday this week. These things happen, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see your face, Lori. Good to see you. I'm glad you found us. I know Lori is a recent attendee of our last Crucible of the year, and she was trying to figure out where we post everything and all that stuff, getting used to how to find everything that she's trying to follow along with. So she was like, where do I see it again? So good to see you. Glad you found us. Got my biggest fan, Mr. Robert Blaine, in the house. I love it. Robot. I think I'm not even 100% sure if that's robot, but that's a little saying around here at Titanium. Good to see you, Joey. Good to see you. So a little housekeeping real fast. If you haven't watched the previous videos and you guys have questions, please feel free to post them in the chats. I'm going to try to focus really hard today on just comping as many properties as you guys can give me. I'm going to kind of stay away from some of the explanations as to why I'm going back and forth between softwares, between Batch, between PropStream, between Propelio. We do utilize all three. We are nationwide, and I do love to comp nationwide for you guys. I want you guys to utilize this as a resource to go ahead and see how I comp your comps live. So send them in the chats. I'm very excited to be, releasing this show. I think this is our 4th episode of the Comp Queen. So I'm going to try and dig in as much as I can and spend a little bit less time going back and forth on each one to do comparisons and contrasts. But I will utilize, all three platforms still. Euphemia, Faz, Gaten, Susie Flores. I think this is a tag. If you are a Facebook user and you register for StreamYard, I can then see who you actually are while I am live, so we can talk back and forth. We've got Mr. Patrick Brown in the house in more than one way. Hello, sir. We've got a comp here. Hi, Jordan. Fam, what's up? I'm gonna make this guy move from Utah one of these days. And we're just gonna start digging right in and pulling these comps. Y'all will have to give me some love and understanding sometimes as I write these down. And please also feel free to ask your questions while I'm comping, while I'm live, because I love them. That's what I'm here for. Take full advantage. All right. Get that kid out of there. I know, right? Utah. For those of you that don't know, it's the one state we haven't done a deal in. We're not a big fan of Utah still. I don't know that we necessarily will be, even when we do our first deal here. We're going to have some changes up in Utah. All right, so let's start digging in. I am going to begin comping a property in Ann Arbor for Joey. I've got a couple more lined up here, but don't forget to keep them coming, guys. I love watching. That is not me commenting, for those of you that can see this. I have multiple personalities on another computer here. Crazies. All right, guys, let's dig in. We've got a property, 2940 Butternut. In the great and wonderful city of Ann Arbor, Michigan, home of my favorite college football team, the Michigan Wolverines. I have wanted for a very long time to do a short-term rental in Ann Arbor. Anthony Pappas, my guy. That's right, LFG. I love it. All right, so let's dig into these comps right here and figure out what we're seeing. One of the things I always talk about is our defaults, and you guys can definitely go back and look at why I changed these defaults. I know Batch is rolling out a way that you can change your preset defaults in their newest upgrade. So that's really exciting. But I like to back out a few of the defaults for now. I do ignore year built. That's not saying that that doesn't matter, but I get to that in a couple of our other videos here. But the reason for that being is because I want to go broad and then dig back in to see what else I get. So see how that meant we have a different active right there. And a lot of people are utilizing these batch systems, and this is immediately where they go to for comps. And I want to show you guys the reason why. This was built in 1940, okay? Our comp here that is active. And it gives me a lot of information. And that's why I like to go broad and then come back in on my defaults, because we have a property built in 1958 here, but we're not looking at this property that's built in 1940. And that's one of my big defaults that I back out of. You know, going within a mile and a 20% square foot, sometimes I'll bump this up if I'm not seeing quite enough, just because I may not want to see, you know, I would rather see the comps that are right here that might be within that 25% of the square foot or what have you. And instead of looking at these as comps, right? So that's one of the things that I make sure that on every one of these platforms that we utilize, that you're very aware of. You want to kind of be looking at these in such a way that you're seeing what is the consistent data, right? Another thing I like to do on batch, because it's not automatically sorted by distance. Oh, it might be right here, actually. Is I like to go and I sort it by distance. I might have saved it from the last time we comped. And then I often use this boundary tool. So instead of comping across this major freeway, I've got plenty to choose from right here, right? Instead of comping over here at this 318, I've got plenty to choose from right here. And we're trying to comp like an appraiser. So I'm not trying to cross this major, whatever it is, park, desert, forest. I might still keep these right here because they look like they could be very similar. So I'm looking for the core of my comps to see what the consistent data is. Another thing is a lot of these comps right up here are consistent with these prices, right? So I'm just kind of trying to look at what we've got going on right there. I'm going to make sure I'm sorted by distance, the closest to the furthest away. And then I'm going to start digging into these prices. One of these things is not like the other. I automatically make sure that I don't have just everything selected. And I start comping and digging in to these closest ones right here, right? You'll see that we have an estimated value up here of 268. That's from an algorithm. This is based on the comps that you select. I'm going to go with those first 5. And a lot of times, instead of dragging this on the street view, I prefer, and this is just a personal preference in how I operate my computers, to right click, search Google. I like to go to that street view really quick. I like to see what I'm dealing with. And it looks like we're dealing with some needs there. This is from January 2011, as you can see. So this street view might not be very accurate. A lot of times I'll try to like zoom in on the house number and see if I can see it, or zoom in on the mailbox just to make sure Google Street took me to the right house. 2940. 2940. This is what we're working with. Now, you've got to understand, again, this is from 2011. They may have completely changed this in the past decade. You know what I mean? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. However, they probably didn't build a church across the street. They probably didn't build an apartment complex, or you know what I'm saying? So you're still always wanting to check that Google Street View just to make sure what you're dealing with. And if you go back to the original right here, you can obviously just click on this and see that. But it makes the screen big, so I don't always like to do that when I'm live. I like to do a separate tab of Google Street. So that being said, I'm going to just continue to dig into these comps, right? You want to look for making sure that your data makes sense here, right? So, I mean, I've got similar square footage. I've got similar size lots. I've got good enough build years here to substantiate. I am glad that I have this property right here at 260 to show me what we're working with. Oftentimes I find it important to click on that just to see what kind of condition we're dealing with, right? What kind of updates are we going to need? If this is our blueprint property, what do we need to turn our place into? And this right here, folks, is why I do love Ann Arbor real estate. The University of Michigan makes it so valuable when you look at this and you're like, 260,000, huh? I mean, it looks clean. It's got some really cool features for an older property like that clawfoot, but you know, man, they could sure use some tile work. The kitchen's decent. Resurfacing the floors, you know, so this isn't this, you know, picture perfect situation. So it tells you a lot about, you know, what you can put for your rehab compared to the condition your property is in. Okay. Hi Jessica, so good to see you, honey. I'm glad you made it today. I'm glad you got the notification that we changed the day. So what I want to say with this one is I very, very quickly can assess from ours. We have a garage. It may be detached. You can go into these property characteristics, see that our comp that I'm liking at 260 is listed. It's older. It's smaller. It's got an attached garage, but I'm not super worried about it being attached or detached, particularly in this market. You sometimes will think, hey, we need an attached garage because people don't want to walk in the snow to their house. But I happen to be aware of the fact that that's not going to be that big of a deal, and it's not going to really make a huge difference, if at all, on an appraisal. We've got a smaller square footage, so we're in really good shape as far as this being a really good comp. We'll actually probably get a little bit of credit if this actually sold at its list price, right? And you can also consider the fact that you're going to take and you're going to make this house look better than that house by rehabbing it. That still had some features in it that were a little outdated, like little bit of tile work, some staining of some floors, that house could be in better condition, right? So it's clearly not a flip, but it's in very good shape. We've got another one here that is actually pending. So be cognizant of the fact that I do like to look at active and pending properties as well as sold properties. I do like to dig into those. If it's pending, that means it was listed on the market and it sold for the price that it was listed, but we don't have it disclosed yet exactly what that price was, right? So I'm going to click right here. Maybe. Oh, we did that again, huh? I did not mean to do that. Technology. Am I right? Let's just try this again. Let's go with all of that. Grab my little guy right there. And let's view the details of this pending comp. So this is just kind of how I dig into the properties, guys. Just letting you know. Interesting to me that I don't see photos of this immediately. Makes me wonder sometimes what you'll see in different states if something is or is not recorded yet, because we're pulling it. I'll Google search it. It's under contract. Here's our photos. You have to do that sometimes. It is still pending. So it's not just that it hasn't recorded. I mean, crazy, right? These are straight from the 80s, if not older. But look, some of it's been updated. We've got a really good space in the garage you can use as a secondary living space, office, rec room. Those are really important features in properties in this kind of area. But this space is very good, very clean. Huge family room downstairs. Gosh, I miss basements. For those of you that don't know, I was born in Northwest Ohio. You'll hear me say this a lot as I'm going through the comps. I wish we had basements, so much room for more activities. So that makes me feel really good about that particular comp. Sorry, guys. Sometimes when this is live streaming, I've got to click back and forth on certain things. Let's see if we can get these photos to pull up on our... Oh, Lord Jesus. What did it do? Give me just a second. We got to go back to our distance view. This is only a thing that happens whenever I'm live streaming, and I don't understand 100% why. So let's try to click it from here and view those details. See how it automatically pops it up on another tab for me. Super fantastic. Man. We're going to try to pop over here again. I'm going to say for me, our property is going to have an easy conservative 260 on this one. Just to let you guys know, I would have slapped that number on it a long time ago, but I'm still trying to filter through and show you guys. Look at that. Typically speaking, in a market that's not moving as fast, you'll see this number, if you happen to see it, doesn't really go up in that amount of time unless it's a popular market that moves fast. I don't see the old photos on there. Let's see if we can't find them on another property. Oh, hey, Robin. Sorry you had to miss it. You have to go back and watch the replay. I love basements. Just, I'm right there with you. All right. I was hoping to get a red fin, but uh-oh. Huh. Trulia doesn't want to play. Well, I'm not going to get photos of that. Doesn't mean I'm not considering it a comp. Let's see if we can't pull up any of those property details from the listing right here. I don't see them. Sometimes what I will do is go back and forth between all of my platforms just to see if for some reason it's pulling up. And again, usually speaking, that's just the difference between the live. Hopefully all my guys watching realize they don't need to log me off of my system. I can't quite seem to erase all the password on all the computers. All right, so yeah, I got nada. And usually if it's not on 2, it's not going to be on the 3rd. What I was looking for, guys, is seeing if any of the MLS history on this comp, at least gave me a listing description, which I did not get on that comp. So, I've got a solid conservatives at 260 within a very close range. I'd probably dig into this 271 really fast, this 276, just to see. That's why I say, to me, 260 is probably pretty conservative. It's very consistent. And I'd probably even dig into number 12 at 298 just to see what those differences are. Is this fully decked out and totally rehabbed? I dig into this. And another thing I'm going to show you guys really fast as I dig into these is I'm going to show you. I know I said I wasn't going to do this as much, but I do always verify these things on another platform because for me, I love to, and I will. So if you look at what I'm seeing right here, this goes with those automatic presets. Again, it's half a mile. It's doing no year built, which I backed out of in batch. And I know a couple were, one of them was at 900. So this had a minimum of 948. And look at what that did. Look at what that did. That's crazy, right? So I've got 1234 square feet right here, right? And look at all these. I have literally properties right here. Now I'm going to deselect. And this is why I back out of those, guys. This is the really perfect example of why I say that. And I know I said I was going to do less teaching, but I can't help myself. I mean, you've got a property, sure, that popped up right here for 677 square feet. I'm not going to include that in my number, right? But why would I not? If I'm looking at comps and I'm seeing 279, what am I seeing here? This is 100% why I always go verify. I was set on 276. Now, I would definitely verify the amount of bedrooms in this case, but I'm coming up with a much higher ARV by comping it in another place. Now, one of the things I will say on this property that I'd be very aware of is, oh, son of a biscuit. It pulled up the wrong one. That's why. I need to be at the one down the street. I got so excited. I was pulling up that last comp. Not on Butternut, but on Cardinal. I'm still seeing pretty substantial comps right here. But we're going to dig in these right here. We're just going to dig into these little babies really fast. And the crazy thing about this is that everything within this half mile, I can pretty much guarantee you is pretty consistent. Just happening to know this market fairly well. See this now, I'm seeing the same exact comps that I was seeing over there that I felt really good about. Now we got 4 1.5. That makes me feel even better. I got so excited. I thought I found a gem, a gold mine, if you will. We do have another attached garage here, but look at these photos, you guys. This isn't this fancy schmancy, you know what I'm saying? So this here that I'm saying is easily, conservatively. I do want to keep this 260 because I feel like you never want to aim for this top of the market. But I'm definitely looking into what I got here. You want to be able to talk. I mean, if you're flipping this, you want to show your contractors what you need this to look like. This is a multi-level, and this is one of the reasons I keep them in here. An appraiser may very well choose this property as a comp, but you're going to have things that you get backed out on, right? Square footage, you get subtraction. The fact that it's multi-level, the fact that it has some brick, you might get some your credit lowered for, but the same thing here, those kind of even each other out, and you kind of hit that 280 range. This is telling me 280 range, right? This is a little bit lower, but it's also a little bit less square footage. So this is telling me all day my ARV on this for a flip, after digging into the comp, seeing the condition, all you have to do, pop some granite in that bad boy, you'll be able to sell it for 280. So 280 is my number. Thought it was going to be 260, but that's 280. So I'll move on to the next one. Hello, Melissa. Long time no see. I miss your beautiful face. Want to say hi? Angel, good to see you. Oh, thank you, sir. You're so kind. Such a kind Titan that I just adore. All right, so I mostly did comp that one on batch, so I'm gonna stick to a prop stream and a Propelio for this next one. We will hit up this property right here, 105 Larkspur Court, Columbia, South Carolina. I want to get one at least on each platform here today. Y'all want to hear a funny story while I type this up? Side note, nation. So every week that we've done the comping queen so far, something fritzes out. You want to know what it was today? Did I spell it wrong? 105 Larkspur Court. Hello. Y'all are gonna laugh. We basically had a tornado, aka I shouldn't say that because that's rude. We've had high winds today, and we had it knock out our internet. We also had it blow a panel off of the AC on the roof that came crashing down in the front. And I'm like, Elijah says, when you're doing great things, the devil always tries to get in your way. So makes me feel like I'm doing great things here. That's what I'm going to tell myself. All right. We're going to just keep pivoting around anything that's thrown at us and keep trying to provide this for you guys. But it was so crazy to me because it was like, I think it was last week, I got delayed by like 10 minutes because we're finally getting our new internet lines installed, and we weren't quite technologically right there. So crazy. One of the things that I love about the defaults, and I will be changing my defaults to be very similar in batch leads, is I love these basic defaults, but oftentimes I change the square footage. But when it's this high of square footage, look at how big of a difference. That's over 1,000 square feet. And we're at 2676. Okay. So sometimes when I see this many comps, I will even I start broader, so I like that, but I will tweak it, to where I'm like, okay, let's do 300 over roughly and 300 under. So I switch that to 2300, and then I might do 3100. And that just kind of, if I've got that many comps within my half mile and I don't see on my map that they're right here. They're all in the proximity that I want. I'm not crossing like bodies of water or major highways or anything like that. That's why I like to set my defaults. I'm looking immediately right here at the closest comps that we're looking at, right? So the first thing that I do is I go and I start saying, what are my top 6? The 6 closest, boom, 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 right there. That doesn't mean you shouldn't include number 7, but does one of these things not look not like the other? I've got some really good consistency going on here in the 200s, but what makes this one 200 and this one 200 and what makes this one 344? So that's where I start digging into those properties, you know? And then immediately, boom, I'm going to go to that street view. While we let that pull up. Oh man, this one is a beaut, Justin. Isn't that just a beautiful little, I just think that's a beautiful little home with the green. South Carolina, girl, you calling my name. Look at that. Trees, green grass, big white house, beautifully landscaped, big old lot. Plenty of room for football on Thanksgiving Day. It just makes me nostalgic. And let's see. That's what our subject property is. Let's see what we're doing here on Winding Way, comp numero uno. This is my brother. I miss you too, buddy. It's good to see you here. I'm excited. All right. So now one of the things we're going to pay attention to right out of the gates is that this is a beautiful home as well, but we're dealing with a brick facade. We need to see if that's going to make a difference. We need to see if this space here, which could be over the garage, take note of that. A lot of people that might have a 3-car garage that might not be accessible necessarily from it might not just be attic you can walk up to in the stairs. You have to be cognizant of those kinds of things. That is not finished out, but it could be a drawing factor. It would be for me, I know, that you can create an additional space that's like a rec area, so on and so forth. I don't quite dig into that yet. That one's listed at 272. I'm gonna look and see what we've got here for 260. We're going to just look for those basic differences, okay? Our house, what does our house look more similar to? The one at 260? I think it does. It looks a lot more similar to this. So we've also, oh, hey, girl. Is this ours? Is this shared? We need to be cognizant of that. So these are just the things I'm looking into, and I just fly through. Now, to all the people out there that are great grandmas, God bless your heart. I say this with all the love in my heart. This is something that screams to me outdated. An older person owned this, kept it in shape for a million years. By a million, I mean a lot less than a million, but look at them. They kept immaculate care of their home is what happened here. And they they didn't spend money and update it because they still loved the finish out. So that gives me all the reason in the world as to why this one sold at 260. It may not have something to do with that exterior, but somebody's going to come into that home and they're going to change out those finishes. That's going to need to be updated. I still am looking at this. One of these things is not like the other. This is our low end comps. We got to figure out why. And we know exactly why here. So I'm feeling very good. The thing that you need to be aware of also is that could mean a lot of things as far as what our subject property could sell for on the market if it has no major distress factors. I literally love these houses too, Royce. They're very beautiful. South Carolina kind of does that to me. I do really enjoy looking at the houses. So, I'm guessing that this is an additional building. We do probably have an attached garage. It'll be interesting to see if that attached garage was added for square footage or finished out as living space for added square footage, because this one doesn't really look like our other properties. But you can see it could use some updates. It's if you go and remodel a house, these are not things you're necessarily going to choose. It doesn't mean you can't. I mean, clearly you can sell it as is on the market, but this one sold, I think it said 232, and they've updated some things. There you go. That's a bonus to a lot of people, like my entire family that has all those crazy things as well. But I still don't see an attached garage unless it's on the side right there. But I'm not thinking so with that window. So that would also probably function as a detached garage. 235 is what that sold at. Could use some updates. I feel like that where that might show up on your appraisal, even though you get credit for many things. Our house is a 4.3. This is a 3.2. Our house has 300 more square feet. So I may even end up, this one needed major updating. These are pretty consistent for me, even though this was super, super, super outdated in my opinion. Somebody could go in there and live and feel comfortably, change out the floors, do the countertops later, do the, it's got a great amount of square footage. It's a 4.2.5. The outside is beautiful. You don't really need to update that. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking at. I did not select those because I want to get my ARV, but understand you'll get credit on an appraisal if the appraiser selects those for many of those things. Letting it pull up. I should make up a song for when things are pulling up that I just sing to you guys. So our house looks a lot like this house with the exception that ours is brick. So I like this one. Again, big, beautiful front porch, beautiful finish outs, even though there's some personalized stuff in there. This baby's clean. I'm digging it. Flipping through these really fast. Some people like wallpaper. It's coming back in. Goodness, that downstairs. Ooh, that sunroom. This room, this space is like a dream come true for yours truly. And we have a pool. You guys got to be cognizant. We got a pool here. This one sold at 289. You're dropping that down to 279 automatically. Let's see where we're at on the square footage. We got a little bit more square footage. Probably dropping that down back to this range, 275-ish. I already looked into kind of those as is comps, which I'm assuming these are. I'm keeping this here just like I'm keeping this here. because it averages out for me. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and dig into this one right here. Because look, I'm looking for what an appraiser will choose, but I'm also looking for my blueprint property. Oh, this one's a beautiful home as well. Man, oh man. Doesn't it just feel regal? The style of exteriors that they choose here in this part, at least, of South Carolina. I see so much of this, and it just feels so beautiful to me. All right. I'm going to click through these a little faster. I'm not seeing anything that majorly stands out. Ooh, that stands out, doesn't it? Vanity in the closet. Like your style, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Mr. or Mrs. Seller. Just assuming that there's big family in here. So this has that availability to finish out attic space as well. But I didn't see anything crazy. Let's dig into these a little on the years built, okay? I'm feeling pretty stoked about this. I will say, I think that this is excessive right here. Very excessive. But what's interesting to me is that what this one sold at, right? So I'm probably not, and I want y'all to understand why I'm doing this here in just a second. Once this pulls up, I want to keep digging in, and I want to keep finding houses that look like ours. And I want to see, do I have reason to believe that they're going to have the same exact situation and sold in that higher price point? Because I feel very good at a conservative number. But, what if they had additional mother-in-law's quarters, What if they had a pool? What if they had, something that we didn't have? I'm feeling pretty good. There's a bajillion photos of this one, so I am literally thinking they doubled down on them. This one is at 107 Oak. I feel much better. I think this is a really good blueprint property, but I think an appraiser would choose these as appraisal properties that would show up on an appraisal, I should say. But they may also choose one of these or a couple of these lower ones to kind of balance it out. We've got a really drastic square footage. I'm coming up right where I am at 292, but what I want to do is I want to narrow down this square footage just a little bit more. And I really want to see what I'm dealing with here what is our number coming up at when it's narrowed that far down on the square footage, right? Do I still have some of those same comps? This is like a backup method that I'm choosing, right? I would be more comfortable throwing this number at 285 on it, because I think realistically, once you are looking at that as a flip, once they start to subtract for things like that pool, we've got, a variety of styles of homes. We had one at 260 that needed updated that looked so much like ours. So I don't feel going like only 270 is I think you're going to be able to get higher. I'm going to go and I'm going to list this higher if I'm their agent or if I'm that seller that flips this house. But I think 285 is a really good number for this. You could easily justify saying, I'm only going to get 275, and you could almost justify saying, I'm going to get 295 very easily. You got a lot of comps to choose from. When it gets into that appraiser software, those numbers end up shaking out. You know, that's how you kind of will dig into these. So I love this for like a comp study for the show. And I know this was asked before and I couldn't recall the answer. Is the house worth more if the garage is attached? It is not technically worth more. Some markets, like I mentioned, if you're in a really a market that gets a lot of snow, okay, sometimes it won't matter. We were comping in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I don't really feel like in that part of Ann Arbor that's going to make a huge difference in your sales price. If you did not have a garage, or if you had a 1-car garage versus a 2-car garage, those would make the differences on an appraisal. I do not believe, never seen a deduction for the garage being attached, but I cannot be 100% sure that never happens. Appraisers are licensed, per market, just like agents are, right? So I cannot be 100% sure on that. The next thing to note, if you were in a place like Anchorage, Alaska, you have to consider, and I use Anchorage as an example for a very specific reason. We do real estate in Anchorage, and you'll notice that front porches as well as back porches are usually at least half a story lifted. They do have basements and things like that there, but that's because of the level of snow. That is because of the wildlife that's there. And they have moose just walking around our neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? So you end up, that makes a huge difference to buyers in that market. So it would more so affect your sales price, in my opinion, even though that may not be a technicality. You're going to have a higher day on market as a flipper if you have options. If you have the option of this house and this one has your attached garage, you're going to see your house sit on the market longer. Now, if you're in a situation where, availability is really low, inventory is really low, those things might not affect you so much. So it really just depends. And you've got to really kind of understand that you need to get to know market knowledge. Sometimes people focus on those things too much and they get analysis paralysis. So I want to teach those principles. I want to teach those ideals, but that's why I really encourage you to look into the comps. In that scenario in Ann Arbor, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. My property also, is this your comp? I thought that this was your property already has a pool. That's Justin. Yeah, no, that's great. I think that we're sitting solid at, and I must have just missed it on the property details that we have a pool too. I'm gonna pull it back up for you guys. That was not our property with a pool. Ba, 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 ba. I did. I overlooked it. It also says it has brick veneer. I don't think it has brick veneer. Unless I pulled up the wrong. Is it? Oh, right here at the very bottom. So yeah, if we've got a pool too, that helps us. If we go back to our comps, we were at 296 on this one. Our other property with a pool, I think it was a little bit larger as well. So I still feel good because it was in the 290s as well. I still feel really good at this 285 number, just being real. You got a lot of variety in this one. Let's see. I'm not commenting on my own videos here. This is my moderator on my computer. He sometimes goes by a few other names. But I do appreciate all the likes. It makes me very happy. You're very welcome, good sir. Let's dig into a doozy, okay? Properties in Minnesota, it might matter. It might matter anywhere. Oh, let's dig into this bad boy. 42. Let's do this. For my brother from another country. Maybe. God willing. Let me see what I've got here. Sometimes you guys need to realize what just happened. I typed in highway, he typed in highway. When I Google it, I mean, you might have difficulty getting it to pull up. Huh. I don't know why this does this sometimes, but I had another example of this on my first episode. And it wouldn't pull up on any platform because I was not putting a space. See how it pulled up here? You know the difference? Like, it's state highway. Let's see if that does it. Lord Jesus. When you have weird addresses, you guys, you kind of gotta go through it. I love you too, buddy. I appreciate your loyalty and caring and support. I am going to do all the things that I can do to get you some comps on this bad boy. Why can't I get it to pull up anywhere? What are we dealing with here? I mean, it's a real property according to Google. This might be one I have to do for you offline so I can figure out. And look, I mean, with all the love in my heart, sometimes people want to come on here and they want to give me their most difficult problems, right? And then I'm going to have the difficult problem too. And I don't want to like sit here and research forever how I need to type this in to get it pull up on one of these systems. Like I said, the first time I went live, it was the matter of I believe the city's name is McCall, and the way the city is actually spelled is MC capital C, or it's McCook, MC capital COOK, and I got it to pull up on all three softwares by putting a space in between Mick and Cook, even though that's not how the city's spelled anywhere else. So this is one of those things that I'm going to have to like tinker around with, and I don't want to spend all my lifetime doing it, but I will tell you this much. I am going to write it down really fast, and I'm probably going to tinker around with it and message you offline, off of the live, so I can still comp it for you. And that way, you can still TX Highway 327 in Coons, Texas. That way we can still, I can still provide the value and the resource. If you want me to do it where you can see it live and whatnot, I can at least go in next week and show you live again, but get you kind of what I think the numbers are before then. But right now, unfortunately, I'm not pulling it up on any platform, and it's legit. When I pull it up right here, that's how it's worded. I've tried it every way. I guarantee you I'll tinker around with it. I'll include it on my housekeeping items, and I'll message you offline. Make sure you message me too, either in my inbox or whatever. It's a rural area, but there is property we got to pick, and it's locked for you. Amazing. That's super, super exciting. And I definitely will get that locked in. I'm not 100% sure where Coons, Texas is, but guarantee you, like the state of Texas, I can dang near find a buyer by blinking my eyes, and we'll see what it's locked up at and make sure we get good numbers on that. We'll go into this next one here. This one is a little bit more challenging. Because I started to look it up right before. Jordan, if you're listening, I think we're at like 56 minutes. If you're still driving, if you're still driving and you want to I don't want you to be getting into a dangerous wreck. So 56 minutes in. I told him I was going to comp this live because I was having difficulty. He is a Crucible Titan, and I was verifying the numbers from this right before the live started, and I was like, do you mind if I put this on the live? And he's like, no. We were seeing very different numbers on this, so this is going to be a good one for us to go in. To details. I know I told y'all I was going to do less teachy stuff while I was on the live and just try to get more of your comps pulled, but I feel like I'm getting a better pace here. Internet's working speedier. Okay, and I want to I pulled it up on all three for you guys so you can actually see why I said let me go ahead and Higley Avenue. Sorry, I'm going to write this other address down. So you can kind of see why I thought this would be a good example. I was not seeing the exact same numbers, okay? And then I'll pull the next one if I can in Cedar Rapids, Iowa on Propelio. At one point, you could only do Des Moines on Propelio. But this is why. So we've got half a year. If it automatically populates 6 months of data, I automatically change that feature here on Propelio. And I'm not pulling except for 2 properties. Now on batch, which is where I know he pulled this, I'm going to back out of that year because I'm not seeing comps. You can kind of automatically tell just from looking at the map view that we probably have some bigger land values. We want to maybe go out a little bit further, right? So I kind of just tweak it to where I go a little further, a little further, a little further, and then I start to see my numbers popping up, right? So that's why I thought this would be a really good example to utilize on here. And also an example, and look, you guys, I will say it a million times over. I use all three platforms for this reason. When you get to certain markets, for some reason, the way that they're getting their data pulled, and this does not exclusive to this platform, it happens everywhere. And we comp in so many markets that we have to almost have all of them. I would say they're all very valuable tools. That does not mean you need to have all of them, but I am showing you all three platforms for very good reasons because we use them. And if you're in a market or you're looking in a market, it will give you, now look at that. Again, it will give you a good gauge. Now, a lot of the people watching, they're Crucible Titans. They are going to be definitely starting out comping on batch. So I want them to figure out how to navigate. Because on batch, if you're working out of the system, you're automatically going to just click on that and go comp it, right? But when you only see like these three pop up, you know you've got to go over here and tweak. I might even do that really fast because 20% over and under, I want to see if I get anything more right in here. I mean, look. Can you see why he wanted me to comp it? You've got all kinds of values right here. Now, is this comp going to be better than this comp? You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. But this happens every now and then. It happens on PropStream. It happens less and less on batch. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. It's been a while since I've seen that problem. And then honestly, I don't even see it too much more often on either other platform. But I really like to have all three tools so I can cover my butt when I run into these not cookie cutter neighborhoods or so on and so forth, where I start to see one of these things is not like the other type of situation. So keep this screenshot right here on these numbers in your mind. We're going to look at very quickly before we even go into the Google Street View. What are we dealing with here? Don't want that. See what I'm saying? There's no way that that's going to be a comp. Even though we love the price, it's not it's so much more square footage, many acres. This is what, like 2.5 acres? We don't even have half an acre. So you got to be mindful of that stuff. You know, look at those build years, look at the square footages, look at all that data there, right? And then you'll see the same thing when you go into that list view. Again, this is one of those reasons I sort by distance. I don't necessarily look at all of the comps. I definitely look at some of the closest comps. And then I just start to dig in. We've got a comp here that I didn't see pull up in my criteria on PropStream, probably because I ignored that square footage. So if you can kind of see why I'm sitting there saying, let's go here. Look at how much it backed out. So what you want to be doing is you've got to get that sorted by your distance. You've got to see, okay, 1970. I like these numbers. We can dig into why these might have sold for cheaper for sure. But I will tell you, Little Rock is one of those markets that you can pop from market to market, or you can pop just into the next neighborhood and the market drastically changes. So you've got to be cognizant of what you're dealing with. These are very close to us, but then all of a sudden we go from being at not even a quarter of a mile, not even half of a mile to over half a mile away. These are a mile away. So that land value is pretty vital to make sure that you're comping before you start saying, hey, these are a mile away from each other. Is this an actual comp for me? You got to think about that because people will literally. All right, so this is what we're dealing with that comp. I am going to pop over just to make sure, because I know these are larger, more spread out. This is Joan. I want to see those property details, attached garage, so on and so forth. I want to get into that Google Street View. I want to make sure this neighborhood is at least going to look like my other neighborhood that's going out here. So this is a really cute house. Like, you can guarantee that when you start to look at the other neighborhood, it's when you see stuff like this. These are your neighbors. Trying to look at that foundation to make sure this is not also a well-disguised mobile home. It doesn't look like it is to me. I'm hoping that's correct. It's not listed as a mobile home. So I want to take it back. This is another big reason why I like to have those multiple platforms. It has an attached garage, which you don't typically see with mobile homes. So I'm just going to go ahead and guess that I'm right about that. But here's the important thing. I need to start really getting into those comps to make sure that, oh Lord Jesus, sorry, I zoomed in somehow on accidente. I got to see what I'm dealing with here. I'm actually going to pop over on this other tab because I want to see if there's any photos on like realtor.com and anything like that too. I really want to see what the neighborhood is like. Interesting. A lot of times this makes me, I notice things that make me hyper aware, right? Man, I like this street view so much more. So one of these things is not like the other. Like, I don't hate this as a comp, but I hate the price. It sold for like 40 some odd thousand. So that feels to me like there's a reason behind that. It may be inner family. So I'm going to see if I can't catch those details since I didn't see them on that tab. Over here, I'm going to start digging into these at 150. Uh-oh. Hope you guys can still hear me. It looks like you can. All right. Just looking through there, I mean, we know it has a detached garage. I don't think that makes a huge difference here. Although, obviously, it might make a little difference to someone. I don't think in this price point in Little Rock it's going to make a difference. Here we go. Arm's length resale. That gives you the reason why. This was non-arm's length. From Sandra to Deborah and Teresa. From Deborah and Teresa. Oh, no, those are not last names. Looks like there was a marriage. That's crazy. Something went down here. Not sure what it is. I'm still not 100% convinced one way or another. So this is our $150,000 property. I do not believe we can turn our property into this property. This is giving me all of those Ozarks area vibes. This needs updated too. I mean, that stove is definitely created before I was born. I like to say those things as I get up in my 30s. Hey, this is a doozy. This is almost one that I would, not even gonna lie, I want to put this $150,000 price point on it, hoping to God, but I just don't see it. I don't think that that's gonna stick. I also don't think it's only worth like a 48,000. So here's what I'm looking for. Let's get into this bad boy a little bit more. It might have brick, but you see how it's got some weird things going on here? And it's a one story, some funky stuff. Got a storm shelter. That kind of creeps me out. So this makes me feel a little bit better because they've done a good amount of updating. It's pretty clean. I mean, you can really kind of get away with doing even some nicer updating by instead of putting laminate or painting the cabinets, but they've got it clean in there. They might have but I mean, it's very clear you don't have to go all out to reach this number, so that's good. It's not 1970s decor. I would imagine this is where that weird side door was in the front there, that this used to be a garage and that they finished it out. I do not love garage conversions, y'all. But sometimes they work out. That's pretty cool. Little sunroom that you could finish out. Maybe they added a garage on the other side. Okay. Maybe not. It's kind of interesting. Maybe they just added this on. I don't know. It works. It works for here, and this sold at a good price, like 15, 17. I would say, oh Lord Jesus. See how this one has comps around it? And I don't love the numbers. It's the one thing that scares me about slapping that number on there. But honestly, what I would do, I would go conservative when you run your numbers. Just because I've got two properties right here that sold lower, I'd make sure you're pulling. But we already looked at that on batch. We didn't get anything closer. Oh, we got one closer here. Let's see what this bad boy is. Outdated. That makes me feel better about putting a number up there in the 140s. Gonna be real with you. This is needing a complete remodel. It's close to our property. It sold on the MLS in October for $67,000. I mean, I understand that our property doesn't have brick, but we've got a really eclectic area here, guys. Where's comp number 5? That is over in that little neighborhood. We were seeing some of those more. I like a number that's a little bit more conservative than that 150. So we did not get the same exact ARV, but I think with a remodeled property, what you'll see sometimes is when you've got some of these more, you've got some of this, I'll show you. I'll go back to this map. You've got this big space of land right here, and like all of your properties that are coming up close or in this neighborhood are coming up across a freeway. They're coming up, across what feels like a major space and a major road, a very different neighborhood. You want to be really careful. You want to dig into a property like that property on Pratt Road that came up and sold on the MLS. You want to find those comps that say, my direct neighborhood could substantiate a comp. An appraiser will pull from that other neighborhood because there's not any other flips here. You understand what I'm saying, guys? So you want to make sure that we're getting a justifiable, explainable, because what you'll see a lot of times is you start to dig, you don't do that work to dig in it, and you just automatically grab those comps because I've got consistent numbers between 150s and 170s. So I'm going to say you flip this, you remodel it, you're going to get 165 out of it. You don't want to just assume that. You've got to look into those comps that are as is, even though you're not seeing any flips, because you want to know what somebody purchased that for. You want to know what your direct neighborhood can substantiate. You've got to be careful of that kind of stuff because you don't want to happen to just be in that pocket, especially in a place like Little Rock where, like I said, you cross something major, you pop into a neighborhood that might be 3/4 of a mile or a mile away, and you're going to end up with, this is not a good neighborhood. You're going to end up with, we don't like to buy over there. So you want to make sure you're even still being conservative. I would not put an ARV on this over 150. I really would not. You really want to make sure you're digging into what those properties look like. If it's the same kind of neighborhood, things like that. I might even drop this a little bit just to be on the safe side because you had some kind of like, on that street view, you had some kind of like a little bit different looking neighborhoods. But when you've got the properties right there, the closest ones are selling 50,000, stuff like that. You want to be careful. You also want to be careful if you are wholesaling this to be cognizant of that number. You don't want to just slap a number on it. The seller wants $50,000 for it, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to try to make a fee on this. And then you're trying to sell it higher than what they can just go grab off the MLS in your neighborhood. So that's going to conclude my episode for today, as far as the comps that I pull. Mr. Yosef, I will dig into that property for you. I did see that you DM'd me so that I would remember and be notified so that I did not forget. I appreciate all you guys. If you do have a comp that you want me to pull that I did not get to today, I see that somebody sent me one from myself, so I don't know where that came from. I'll definitely pull it offline and I can pull it live for you guys next week. I appreciate all of you guys. I want to keep going live every Wednesday at 3 Central. So this is not our regularly scheduled program. And I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this today, and I'll see you next week.